Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another week of Unfiltered on Wonderful Machines Instagram Live. We've done 3 of these so far, and we're rolling right along with an every Tuesday kind of show. Thank you so much for joining us. This week we have Melinda DiMauro, a New York-based photographer, who we'll be speaking to about a couple of different projects that she's been working on, and also just how to reach out to old clients and new clients amidst this quarantine situation. Melinda has worked all over the country. She's been published internationally, and she's just about to join us, and she can tell us a lot more about how her career has been going. So Melinda, join me and just get things going from there. Melinda has spent time in San Francisco and Los Angeles and back in New York. Melinda, hi, how are you?
How's it going?
Good, good. Really appreciate you coming on. Really looking forward to talking about a bunch of different things. So thank you for the time.
Thanks for having me. It's super exciting.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as we do every week, just want to start by asking you kind of how you got into photography, your background in general, and then how it led you to where you are today. I remember on our phone call yesterday, you mentioned working in PR, so you've had different experiences within this industry and different branches of it.
Yeah, actually, I studied in Virginia, in Richmond at Virginia Commonwealth University, and my major was fine arts, but my specialty was actually fashion advertising, which is kind of like a weird little major they had for a while. I don't even think they offer it anymore, but it was this weird mix of working on like creating fashion ads. Anyway, so but I realized, I think quickly through the process, that the concepting of the photography part was my favorite. And I couldn't say I had a minor in photography, but I definitely took quite a bit of classes. And because it was the olden days, we actually shot film and processed film, and we processed color. And that was like a whole thing in itself. I would never do that like professionally. But yeah, so I feel like I learned a lot in that process, and then I worked for a big like Fortune 500 company at a college working on their annual report, and met their photographer and was like kind of a liaison with him, and realized like I want to do what I don't want to do what I do. I don't want to sit like behind a and be doing what I'm doing right now. And anyways, this whole long conversation, because he's a super great guy, and he actually took me on as an assistant in his studio part-time initially, and then kind of worked into he shared a studio with 2 other guys, and it was kind of miraculous, because it was this moment in my life like post-college where I was like, I really feel like this is like my calling. This is who I am. It's part of like, I'm like, it's in me to do this. And between Alan, his name's Alan Shoemake, and 2 other guys he shared a studio with, Jay Rosenblatt and Greg Lachey. The 3 of them decided they were just going to make me into this perfect assistant. Like, so weird to shoot, and I had all these ideas of things I wanted to shoot. I just didn't have the skill set to like do a commercial shoot. And then actually pretty early on, because I have a graphic design background, like I would, as soon as I started shooting, friends would kind of come up and be like, oh, I have this product shot I need, or I have this portrait I need. I just started playing with it as soon as I could. And they were, not only did they like show me like basic stuff, like they literally sat down and like showed me how to load a 4x5 camera. And one of them helped me buy my first 4x5 camera. Yeah, they were just so helpful in like kind of training me and mentoring me, and also just being on the different range of shoots. Like Alan was a corporate portrait photographer, did advertising and a lot of corporate. I guess they all did a little bit of corporate at the time, but and then Jay was really mostly architectural. So I had this like, Alan was people, he really did beautiful lighting, taught me how to really light beautifully. And then Jay would be architectural, and he was super technical, and like everything had to be like flawlessly dialed in. And we do these like huge setups, 10 lights, like, and big huge rooms, shooting industrial sometimes. And then Greg was an art photographer. I mean, he did some commercial work, but like his heart was really as an art photographer. So it was such a cool mix of mentors, because it actually made up a lot of who I am, I think, as a photographer now. And then, yeah, at some point along the line, I met my husband, and he was from Colorado. I was living in the New York area, working in New York, and we decided to move to California as like neutral ground in our relationship, and in a band full time and touring and stuff. And so I kind of naturally was around a lot of musicians, and we moved out to Los Angeles after we got married, and I was just around a lot of music. So, and it's like kind of like something I love anyway. So I think at the time I just shot mostly like CD covers and band portraits and a lot of that. And I felt like fashion kind of started like weaving its way back into my repertoire of work. And then his company decided to come back to New York, or plant a New York office. And so I kind of got moved along with them too. And as like a woman, and then at that point becoming a mom, it's tricky because you end up, it's different than like, I feel like as a guy, like you just full steam ahead, and you don't have the same physical sacrifice.
Yep.
And like for me, I couldn't shoot when I was 8-9 months pregnant. Like physically I just couldn't do it. I don't know if maybe some other people do, but just with my pregnancies it was really hard. So there's this like stopping and starting constantly. And I think the cool thing about that in hindsight is that I really learned how to just adapt to whatever situation I was in, and keep going, and make sure that just my creativity never stopped and my shooting never stopped. I never got into like family portraits. I stink at kid pictures. People ask me all the time, they're like, oh, you shoot our family portrait. And I'm like, I mean, I've done it like out of necessity, but like it's just not my thing. I like my subjects to interact with me in like a different way. And anyway, so yeah, so we ended up back out here, and then planting back in New York was just like reinventing myself again, and kind of going, all right, where am I at now? What kind of work do I want to do? What do I feel like is my passion? And I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades that way. Like I feel like, yeah, I am. Portraiture is definitely like my main heart, but I feel like I do naturally kind of gravitate towards lifestyle and like pretty product shots, like lifestyle-y product shots. And so that's kind of led its way into some food, and also yeah. And then I actually started a studio with a friend like years ago in the city, and then he branched off and decided to have a commercial space. And so that's kind of like still my home base, which is really great because I get to use that as like my go-to studio when I need to.
Nice, very.
That's
And
kind of a sign.
yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned kind of we'll call them your mentors as you entered the field, because one of the things we're going to talk about is how you have continued to expand your skill set, your marketable skill set. It's not just fashion, it's also food, like we'll talk about. So to have a group of people around you that within the three of them have such a versatile skill set must have been a great just starting point.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of like up and coming photographers. Some of them get into assisting, some of them don't. For me, it was a great experience because I got to see just how different people work, and like how they approach lighting, how they approach business, how they approach their subjects, and kind of figure out like just and even posing models and things like that. Just seeing how different people interact, and a lot of problem solving, because most commercial shoots is they're just a series of problems that you're trying to figure out. Like, why is this lighting not working? Why is this shot not happening like I had it in my head? And how do I tweak the perspective, or the my settings, or the light ratios to like make it look the way I want and have the right feel to it.
Right.
And I feel like honestly, it is a little bit like cooking, because you're like playing with recipes all the time, and you're like trying to recreate things that you've done in the past, but it always has its own thing. It always has a little bit of its own flavor.
Mm-hmm. No question. So that'll lead us to like the work that you've kind of shown with us at Wonderful Machine, and you had an Instagram takeover with us a couple weeks ago, I think, at this point. And if you want to go to our Instagram page, you can see Melinda's work. But this is more fashion-based work, this Instagram takeover, right? And tell us just about kind of what was about this shoot and all of the fun experiences you had with it.
Yeah, so I guess to back up a little bit, a few years ago, I had a friend who started a ethical fashion company, and I had been shooting, I've been shooting quite a bit of fashion. And so she approached me and said like, hey, we're going to do a couple of these international trips. We're going to shoot a series of like portraiture that's going to tell the story of like the artisans that are making the garments and kind of the brain. And a lot of it had to do with like empowering women and women that had been compromised in different areas of their life. Like they had been kind of kicked to the curb by society, or maybe they are HIV positive or had different things going on. Anyway, so yeah, so she asked me to go on a few trips. We did a trip to Kenya. Oh, and then as part of the trip, we would also shoot a lookbook on like this incredible location. And she was amazing, the whole thing. And we were able to work with some really good models. And we did a shoot to Kenya, and on that shoot, we went with Kat Sadler, who used to be one of the hosts of E! News, and we did a shoot with her. And then we also did a shoot that was more of a PR shoot for International Women's Day. And then after that, we hired flew a model in from South Africa, and we did a shoot on this little tiny island called Lamu, which was fun. And then the next shoot we went to Southeast Asia. We went with Shay Mitchell, who's like a pretty big actress, and we did a lookbook with her in India. We also went to Cambodia and Malaysia, and then the last shoot we had done together with that company was to Morocco and to Portugal. It was great because I got to really like be able to work on all these different environments and stuff. And then somewhere along the line, I started gathering a few shoe clients, which was such a good fit for me because it's definitely one of my passions. I love shoes. So I'm like, oh, this is like my dream job. I get to travel somewhere and shoot shoes and just look at shoes all day long. So this client came along and we went back and forth. We looked at like a ton of international locations and landed our first shoot in Mexico. We did that one first. And that was like a year and a half ago. And then this last one, they wanted to do another like spring summer shoot and wanted to be tropical, like beachy, but they really wanted to stay in the US on that one. I found actually it doesn't necessarily save money shooting in the US, but well, just because the crew tends to be more expensive and the models are mostly the models are more expensive, and then locations are different too. I feel like some of the international shoots I did, if we were staying in a hotel, they had no problem with us shooting there, and they kind of didn't really care. Whereas like here, we like monetize everything. So like so we ended up in Hawaii. That was our final destination. And even in the beginning, one of the hotels we wanted to shoot at was part of a Marriott chain. And that was like a big process to like figure out, because there's like, it's such a huge company that there were so many cooks in the kitchen, and they were like trying to have us sign off on like using all of our images, and obviously we couldn't do that. And so anyway, we ended up finding a happy medium and a small hotel that we could kind of use as our home base. And then we shot like so many different locations. So my client and I have one assistant that flies everywhere with me, and he and I and the client took like 2 days to scout, and we had done a ton of work on just on Google satellite images, and like kind of had a few people on the ground. Our stylist and our makeup artists were local, and so they gave us tons of good advice on like different, like we'd say, okay, we want this like jungle scene, what are some of the areas that that we could shoot in. And so we found like 6 different locations that were really good, and did our whole permit process with them and with the city of Honolulu. And so yeah, and we've had 2 models. One was local to, I don't remember exactly what part of the island she lives on, but she's local there. Another model who's based out of Los Angeles, but she shoots a lot in Hawaii, so she kind of goes back and forth. So she came in for the shoot as well. And yeah, I'm trying to think of like specifics for the shoot exactly, but
well, I mean, it's just awesome to hear that you get to do so much traveling. Now growing up, and then in your previous life, if you will, were you traveling nearly as much, or has photography kind of been the biggest way you've seen the world, or has there been more traveling before that? Was there more traveling before that?
I think I've always loved to travel. We did a little growing up, like not a ton. My family didn't do like, we didn't do any like big international trips. I really did that more on my own. I think once in high school I did a school trip where we went to France, but most of my family trips were more just like local to the beach, that kind of thing. But my husband had traveled a lot with his band, and so we got to do a few cool trips early on in our relationship, and it like just kept growing in me. I love experiencing other cultures, and I love working in another country too, because you're working, but you're not like, it's not like they're employing you. Like all the people I'm working with are US companies. So, but because we are working with some local crews, in the different places I've been, you really get to experience a different part of a place than you would if you were just showing up on vacation. And that's
Right.
the part that I find the most fascinating. Like really, I always say like I can't stay somewhere more than 10 days, because I always feel like I either need to like get a job and settle down or go home. Like it's like
Right.
that's where my like line is of like, could I live here? I don't know.
Right. Once you get 2 weeks, it's like, man, I'm pretty attached to this place. I think it'd be tough for me to go back, you know.
Okay. Oh,
Which is your favorite place that you've been to? Because you listed a large number of different place for work, we'll say, work related.
I honestly like, I feel like the hardest place for us to get to, and the kind of the most exotic place we went to was this little island off of Kenya,
Mhm.
um, called Lamu, and at the time too was a little bit scary because there were a lot of like terrorist bombings around the World Cup that year,
Yep.
and and then like 2 weeks before we were supposed to leave, there was a bombing about 45 kilometers from exactly where we were staying,
Ah,
and there was a lot of travel warnings and things like that. And I remember my husband was like, "Can't you photograph pretty close somewhere a little safer?" You know, and I have kids too, like I said, and so it for me was a challenge. Like, am I really brave enough to do this? Like, and like just trust it. And so after a lot of back and forth, we talked to a lot of local people on the ground, and they kind of assured us that the media had made it a little worse than they felt like they were experiencing, and so we decided to do it anyway.
hmm
And but just getting to the island was so crazy. Like when you pull up, like you fly in this little tiny plane, like 12-person plane, and then landing there, they like these guys just kind of show up and pick up your bags and put them on their shoulder and just start walking away, and you're like, I have my like camera backpack on my front, it like with dear life, because I'm like, I can't lose my camera cards, like they're right here, and I've already shot 4 days. And so it was really funny, just the whole experience. And then they're just like facilitators, but they know that's like their livelihood, so you tip them a couple of dollars, and then they drop your bags off at the place. But there's no cars on that island, so they basically take all your stuff, put it in a cart, and like they use donkeys a lot, and they'll haul your stuff to whatever place you're staying in. And yeah, and we were in this it was this beautiful house, but the way the guest houses are there, it looks a little like you'd think Morocco would, where everything's like super close together, and they have like these giant doors, and like the walls are super thick, and then you walk through, and you there's a courtyard in the middle, and everything's like totally open air inside, which is a little crazy for me coming from here and feeling like safe,
Yeah.
when you're count on the ceiling being there, but there's like it's like kind of wide open to the world, and that was crazy. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's definite. Like it's a totally new experience, especially coming from where the Western world that we grew up in. Just like you donkeys are carrying your camera, not all your camera equipment, but like
yeah,
it's
we had this guy that was like, he was the caretaker of our guest house at the time, and I remember the first night I was like, and it's a heavily Muslim culture there, and so like it was actually an all woman crew that particular one. We had our model and then client and a few other people that were there to help out, and so we all stayed. It was like 5 of us staying in this guest house, and then we had this guy that was like the caretaker of the house. And I'm like, so you can't stay here, right? And he's like, oh no, it's not okay for me to stay here. And I was like, okay, so what happens in like, do you have a cell number we have, like, or what happens like in the middle of the night if we need you or something happens, And he goes, you go like this, Mohammed. And I say, I am coming. Like, walls are so open. If we just yell for his name, like he'll just come running.
Yeah,
But
effective communication.
say it again.
That's an effective communication system there. It's just like you got the whole call.
Yeah. So
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about this project that you and I worked on in terms of writing about it. We'll have it up on our site. It's with Whisked Confections, which is a little bit tough to say, Whisked Confections, but the more and more
yeah.
I say it, so it really speaks to like during the pandemic, how if you have these resources in your home to be able to shoot food photography, product photography, that makes you an invaluable person to different clients. So tell us about just reaching back out to the person who owns Whisk Confections and then getting those images back to that person.
Yeah, so her name's Lindsay Palumbo. We had done a few shoots together before. She makes these incredible chocolates. She also makes ridiculous cakes. And I mean, like if you go to her Instagram or her website, her cakes actually taste phenomenal. It's definitely the best tasting cake I've ever had. But she does these like elaborate fondant sculptures, and will make like a Yoda that looks like exactly like Yoda, and like these crazy sculptures. Are her flowers are like, you can't even tell they're not real. Anyway, so I'm kind of a fan of hers, and so we've done a few shoots together. I've shot some of her cakes. I did some portraiture of her for a local this thing called the Scout Guide, and I also did just stuff for her website. Anyway, yeah, so when this happened, it was right before Easter, and she had made these gorgeous like chocolate, and she like hand paints each chocolate, like all the bunnies, like it's all hand done. And she had done this series of these like kind of modern like painted bunnies. And so anyway, we were talking, and I was like, hey, if you need me to shoot them, like you have like a week to promote these. And typically she also has huge clients, like she works with hotels and restaurants and things like that, and she'll do like little box chocolates for different holidays. And that's kind of all dead in the water now, because hotels are now not really serving anyone, and restaurants are on just takeout. So she really lost like a huge bit of business. And in that process, I was like, if you want me to shoot some chocolates so you can promote them, let's do this. And so she just dropped like she styled everything for me except for like this one shot, and basically just had it all prepped just like a normal would. And we kind of FaceTimed our way through the shoot. And that was really like my first COVID experience, trying to figure out how to do this at home and make it work with like limited resources.
Because I imagine you're really used to having another person right there on a shoot, and you get there. It's just different when it's in person. You get every bit of their like emotional sense, and you get their vibe, and it's tough to replicate that over FaceTime. Just what exactly they want and what exactly you want to help them with. So, what was that experience like? Just trying to navigate the FaceTime aspect of it.
She was pretty great. I think the trickiest shot was she made this one like chocolate bunny that has it, or I guess all of them were like this, but we shot the exterior of the rest of them. But for one of the shots, she wanted to show that when you break it open, she has truffles all inside, packed inside. And so typically I'm okay at food styling, but I'm not working with an assistant, so like it's really on me to like set it on myself and tweak all the lights
A little
and
bit there.
test everything. Yeah, so like not having her there to like actually like just move everything over and tweak it, that was a tricky part. And then this particular shot, she wanted it so that she wanted a hole broken in the chocolate and then have it like cascading out just so. And so that was the part where we kind of went back and forth a little bit until we felt like it looked just right.
Yeah, and it's so great that you guys are doing that, because it helps both of you. It helps you as you continue to just not only get reps, but you getting like good work in, and you can show other people. And then for her, it's like, even though she, like a lot of us, have lost, a good bit of business. Like, she's still going strong, and she's still making these things, and she can still get that work out there. So for you to be able to help market that is really, really, like, I think, a great way to show that there are ways to get around this, even if it's not going to be totally the same.
Right. And I think for her, it was crucial to like boost up her local business, because her, like, the bigger clients that she had where she was doing huge volume just weren't, that wasn't going to happen. So the only way to move forward was to work with local people. So, but it was good. She actually had a pretty good turnout. So
Great, great. And yeah, the shots are on her Instagram, her website, and again, like, it's beautiful photography, just beautiful, like, food that I really want to eat. Those chocolate bunnies look delicious. Like, and like you said, like, not only do they look good, they taste everything that you've had. So we'll definitely have to look into that. But Whisked Confections is the name
yeah.
of the business, and we'll have a piece on that up tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And then, so have there been other, like, older clients or clients that you've just recently had that you've been reaching back? What's it been like kind of networking during this? Because this was an example of you being proactive in a sense, and I'm sure that's been the case for connecting with other clients that you've worked with.
Yeah, I'm trying to be as proactive as I can. And I felt like a few things like so right before, I had said we had done the shoot in Hawaii, and then right, literally as lockdown was happening, we had scheduled a fall shoot, which was in upstate New York with the same client, Andre Seuss. And that was so difficult to pull off because it was literally like unfolding as lockdown was unfolding. And so we had to make like day before location changes and crew changes that, like, some of the crew just decided, like, it's too, like, I can't go, I'm too at risk. And it was before, like, we were, like, the shelter in place was official. So it was like it was literally like days before, and like, are they going to lock us down? What's happening? Are we allowed to go out?
Like the beginning to mid-March, kind of like March 10th, 11th ish or so.
Actually,
Maybe a little.
16, 17, like right in there. And lockdown, I think, was like official, like the day we got back. So it was, and part of the crew was really worried because, like, at that point too, it was like scare of, like, is food, are we going to get food? Like, are we going to be able to survive now? But then most of my crew was also like, this is probably the last job I'm doing for a while. So let's just kind of make it happen. And so everybody was amazing. And we just were super careful because it was more uncertain, I think, at the time, because we didn't know what was going on. So we just tried to, like, make sure everybody stayed away from each other, and the makeup artist had, like, multiple kits, so to, like, because we had two different models. And anyway, but like you were saying, since COVID, typically, so we shot video, like we've shot video on all the shoots with them and done, like, kind of small, like, 30-second to 15-second videos that the client uses just for social media PR. And then on the other shoots we've done, I've typically had a video assistant shoot it for me, and then I'll farm out all the and I just kind of direct it, or give them ideas of what I want. And then I've farmed out all the post-production. But on this particular one, I was like, they didn't have a huge deadline because of everything being up in the air anyway. And I'm decent at Premiere Pro, but it's definitely, I know there's people a lot faster at it. So because I had time, I just decided, I was like, okay, I'm gonna edit it myself, and be able to, like, do it the way I want to do it, and not have that back and forth. And it was a hard decision to make because I also am happy to employ people as much as I can. But in this particular situation, I was like, I have all the time in the world to, like, do this. Like, they don't care if I take a month to edit this. So I might as well, like, brush up on my Premiere skills and do it. So yeah, so that was a good thing. And then as far as clients go, yeah, I've just been kind of systematically reaching out to people. Like, I had another client that we bid on, like, 4 different jobs last year, and it was just like, it's a small ad agency in Brooklyn, and I had worked with the art director with another media company in the past, and we did some really fun content. So she knows, like, we know we like working together. It's just like she keeps including me on bids. It just hasn't worked out yet. And so she was one of the people I reached out to early on to say, like, hey, I'm shooting from home now. If you want to try to MacGyver. So we were working on trying to pull something else together, and then also I have another like chocolate company, different chocolate company I shoot for, and they asked me to shoot something. We'll shoot it this week, and they sent me the product for it, and I'm gonna like one of the nice things is I live outside of the city, so I actually have a house, and
Yep.
I definitely came to the suburbs reluctantly. I'm not like I'm not super outdoorsy. I'm probably enjoy being in the city more, but I felt like with my kids and family life, it was a little bit more conducive to what I was used to. And so anyway, my one caveat was like, I have to have a good kitchen here. Like if I'm going to live out in the burbs, I want to have a really kick butt kitchen. So I do have a really nice stove and like really nice kitchen. And that is going to be awesome for my shoot on Wednesday.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just really glad to hear that, you're staying busy. And like, I remember we were emailing and you're like, yeah, we can do this call at this time. I have a couple other appointments. So like, they could be different things, but just any way to like stay busy and stay networking. It sounds great. And the other part of this too, it's not just that we're all experiencing quarantine, but you're in New York State. New York State is the hotbed of every part of this country. Like when it comes to American issues with COVID, New York has so many cases. So to be in all parts of it, city, suburbs, upstate, like it makes it even more risky, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely. I feel like we're actually based in New Jersey, and the particular town I live in is a commuter town.
Okay.
So, and it's just as bad as all the other suburbs around New York as well. So that's been and the concern for a lot of people is, yeah, we're riding the trains back and forth into the city, and my husband works in the city as well, and so we're just kind of like, how do we keep our family safe? But the nice part of where we're at is we do have a car, which makes it a little easier. I have friends that literally haven't left their apartment building in 60 days, and it's really hard. Like you go crazy. So at least we have that going on. I have to say though, I feel like because everybody's in the same boat right now, and it's not, I mean, there's a few states that have lightened up a little bit, and this, I don't think New York's gonna change for a while. Like we have a lot more ground to cover, but I feel like because everybody's in the same boat, like typically my clients are like super quick to write me back or like just want to jump on a call and say hi because they're sitting at home too, and we don't have the social interaction of normal life, so like they're happy to talk about what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's good too because people are so willing, and it's like you don't really have that much of an excuse to not get back to people, right? Like, what else are you doing?
Right.
Everybody's by the computers. Like, you're probably going to hear from people pretty soon. So that's definitely a good aspect.
um so do you want to take a look at some of the shots we were talking about?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do some of the whichever one, the Instagram takeover, the Wish Confections one, whichever you want to show.
Here we go, switching gears here. These are some of the shots from Hawaii. I just kind of did a grid work and I figured I could zoom through a couple of them.
That is perfect.
Yeah, so this was our model Megan. It was near a place on Oahu called the Honolulu Blowhole. I think that I was really bad with trying to pronounce all the different places there, but this location was just like so crazy colorful, and we love like putting together the contrasting colors of like her red bathing suit and stuff. And this was a shot we did with our makeup artist actually helped us get the flower like crown there. It's called a haku, I think. And we were able to kind of get that the day of, just because our makeup artist and stylist had some different connections there, which was awesome. Yeah, and we went to like a bunch of different beach locations, just looking for like that particular one. We were looking for sand that was super white, and it in generally is pretty white in Hawaii, but it was like particularly white there. It was gorgeous. And then we also were just looking at getting some of like super dark lava rock in some of the shots, which was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I I love the contrast, like you said, the bathing suit against whatever backdrop it is. Really, really, just like eye popping. And then when you go on your website, these are the first images of a lot of these that you'll see. So I
Yeah,
definitely enjoy kind of perusing as I did research for this.
I'll show you a few of the food shots I've done. I've actually just added them to my website. I was trying to figure out kind of how to mix in the lifestyle with fashion. These are a couple of different lifestyle shoots I've done. What did I do with it? It is up here. Hold on. Yeah, so this was here we go. That's the shot. The one I had to carefully break open myself.
What was it like breaking it open? Because if you one wrong thing and the whole thing cracks, So
Yeah,
what was that?
I only had one backup. So it was
Okay.
like I had a little comfort in my one backup. But yeah, so and just it's also the problem with chocolate too is like you get fingerprints on it really easily. And also like if I use like tweezers or anything like that, you'd see the indentations. And yeah, you can Photoshop it to a certain extent, but it fingerprints are really hard to get out of chocolate. So you have to wear gloves and like really careful, and also just like make sure the room's not super warm, um and make sure everything's not melting. And I wanted to make sure like all the little bits at the bottom were like authentic looking,
Right.
with being like too perfect. But yeah, yeah, and
And
these were
yeah, when the family walks in and they see you doing this and they see that you have not only delicious chocolates but delicious looking chocolates, do you have to like kind of ward them away from it, or are they good about not like wanting to eat it really badly until
yeah,
after?
so they know these chocolates already. They've had them before.
Okay.
So here I'll show you back at the ones that she did around Valentine's Day. These were really cool.
Oh,
Yeah, so this was like her boxes that she made around Valentine's Day. And this one here, if you can see my cursor at all, it's like has a yellow swirl on it. It's actually passion fruit.
oh wow.
And it's phenomenal. So yeah, I basically they're like, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Can we have these yet?" Yeah, that one's amazing. And there's like her flavor profiles are so good too. They're like definitely another level.
Definitely. What's her name is Lindsay, and what's her last name?
Palumbo.
Palumbo. Lindsay Palumbo. Whisked Confections, if I have that.
Yes, I'll show you her cakes too. Um, this was this is like the typical kind of
Yeah.
sculpture
Oh,
she makes. It's
and
crazy.
this is what we talked about, Melinda, yesterday, just about how your main thing might not be food photography, but you yourself are quite a good cook, as you said, and so. Well, you were more modest. I'm going to call you quite a good cook. Just going to assume that. And so, like, to be able to take that skill set and to apply your photographic skill set, I mean, it just allows you to add more and more to the arsenal, so to speak. And I mean, these shots are phenomenal.
Thank you. I think for me, like it's important for them to just to it's hard to say like or to figure it out, but just to actually make them look tasty, like to make it look like, oh, I want to eat that. And that's usually my like, okay, I think we've got it, I think I want to eat it now. Like the shot looks like has flavor to it. And yeah, I mean, and I'm also pretty particular about just like placement of like in this shot, like the placement of how, I mean, the food stylist was there to like, to put everything together, but I might just like tweak the actual placement of different pieces of cheese or berries or things like that. And this one was a one take, and we did like a GIF, whatever. I know there's always an argument: is it GIF, is it GIF? Um, just as it was pouring over the edge, so that was pretty fun.
There.
But I think too, like talking about like the lifestyle versus fashion, the model that's taking a bite of chocolate, and she's the same model in the shot below. um she's actually a hand model,
Huh.
and her name's Idris, and I worked with her on a nail polish shoot at one point, and a company that does like nail products. And she's just a phenomenal hand model. She's so good at like holding products, which is actually not that easy. A lot of hand models I've worked with in the past, like they'll get their hand into a certain position and then it's hard for them to like hold it really still. And she just is like a rock. She's amazing. But she also has a phenomenal smile. She's like these gorgeous teeth. And so when it came up, they want this other chocolate company wanted to do, it's called American Heritage Chocolate. It's a division of M&M Mars. When they came up and said they wanted to do a lifestyle shoot, I was like,
oh, there we go.
biting the chocolate, but she can also hold it really beautifully. So,
right.
So yeah, she was amazing. Yeah, and I feel like the
Great.
lifestyle just is what kind of fits it, makes it fit all together. You know, like it feels like my stuff. So yeah.
So I appreciate you showing us that, just like the nice mix of different things. And again,
Come back around.
Well, so that's on your website. So we've been checking out A Wonderful Machine, and more people will as well. Melinda, this has been an awesome chat. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your work. Do you have any final like quarantine-based thoughts just on what your experience has been like the last couple of months, hanging out with the family, keeping busy, and all that stuff?
No, I feel like I kind of flip back and forth between like going like, this is sort of this like blessing in a sense to have this like extended staycation and like be with my family all the time, because life is so busy beforehand. Like I felt like we're all going in 20 different directions, and so that part I like kind of enjoyed a little bit. But then there's also just so much hardship going on right now, and so many friends losing work, or like, you know, not being able to keep up, or just like people being sick and around us, and losing friends and family, that it's just been such a weird time.
Yeah.
And I definitely like, I'm curious just on a business level how things will kind of go back to normal, because I feel like some clients are saying like, oh yeah, we can just shoot this at someone, you know, with a small crew and all this stuff. Like we can figure out ways to do it like cheaper and quicker. So I don't know how that's gonna pan out afterwards, but yeah, I've been super grateful for Wonderful Machine though, because you guys have the actually like out of like I've been marketing for a long time now, and the most like legit solid like client work I've gotten through my marketing efforts has been through Wonderful Machine. So yeah,
We really we have rock stars all throughout the company, and I work with a couple of them closely, and yeah, they're very good at what they do. Very good at what they do.
Definitely.
Well, thank you again so much. This was a wonderful, wonderful time. This will be on YouTube and our website, so I'll send you a link within a couple days, have a write-up for it. And again, your work with Whisk Confections will be on our website. I'll send you that link as well. So we'll definitely be in contact. But this was terrific. I'm glad you're staying busy, and I'm sure that we'll be speaking soon.
Thanks, Varun.
Take care.
See ya. Bye.